You know you are judging the beans, right? The beans cry and say, how dare you judge me? You judge happily. You know you are going to eat the beans. So that's what it means to judge. So I'm distinguishing. And I always tell you that one reason why I don't like sharing is because I know that it's going to come back and bite me. Bite me. Like I'm like, oh, who sent me to preach this thing? No. Then everybody will be looking at me. Practice what you preach, oh. So I'm also talking to myself now. It may be in the future that things happen. How were the Christians persecuted and it did not become bitterness in their hearts? Because whether we like it or not, what does the Bible say? Anyone that wants to do righteousness or live a righteous life will suffer tribulation or persecution. So things can happen to you like this. If you don't understand that the Lord is your portion, He's the reason. He's all you want is God. All you have is God. If God does not give it to you, you don't want. I'm satisfied wherever God has placed me. If I am not in this position, it's because the Lord has not put me there. Even if you sinned, not sin, even if maybe you made a mistake, you made a bad choice, and you lost something, how not to be bitter and envious at the person who now gets that thing you once had is to do this. Lord, my heart and my flesh may fail, but you are my strength and my portion forever. If I am in this low place, and we're going to look at that in Hebrews 12. If I'm in this low place, it's because, okay, I've made this mistake, I've done this, but you can help me. You're going to learn the lessons that are available to learn in that situation. And you find out that the Bible says, whoever, humble yourself where? Under the mighty hand of God. You know God's hand is very heavy. So when they say humble yourself, you're like, yes, so humble yourself under the mighty hand. In due time. God's hand is very heavy. So when they say humble yourself under the mighty hand, it's not beans. It's real humility. But it says that in due time, what will happen? You will be exalted. So many of us like, let me humble myself and one day I'll be exalted. Then in the midst of the humility, I'll beg God, please. I cannot come and kill myself. But understand that have peace, have rest, be secure, find security. Don't look for security in yourself. Don't look for security in what you have. Don't look for security in your position. Look for security in God, who is your portion. That was how David was able to overcome many things that he overcame. I would like us to look at Hebrews 12, verse 7, from verse 7 to 15. So we're going to look at it closely together, okay? Because I just saw that everything ties in. So verse 7. Endure suffering as discipline. God is treating you as for what son is not okay, let's go back to maybe verse 5. Does it start of 4? It starts from 4, right? Okay, 5. Let's go to 5. And you have forgotten the exhortation that addresses you as sons. My son, do not take lightly the discipline of the Lord, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Go on. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastises everyone he receives. You know we don't believe that passage. You know we still think God hates me. That's why this thing is happening to me. Go on. Continue. Endure suffering as discipline. God is treating you as sons. For what son is not disciplined by his father? If you do not experience discipline like everyone else, then you are illegitimate children and not true sons. Furthermore, we have all had earthly fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them. Should we not much more submit to the Father of our spirit and live? Our fathers disciplined us for a short time as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, so that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems enjoyable at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it yields a harvest of righteousness and peace to those who have been trained by it. Therefore, so he says, Because when you understand that, oh, every discipline comes, discipline is God chastising you as his son, it now tells you what to do. Because of that, what do? Strengthen your limp hands and weak knees. Make straight paths for your feet, so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. Why are your arms and your knees weak? Remember that for you to be disciplined, it means you did something, right? So it means your arms were weak and your knees were weak, right? And then he says, because you understand that this discipline is because it's the Lord that is disciplining you, so that what will happen at the end of the day? You will be holy. You will share in his holiness. Strengthen those your limb hands and your weak knees. Don't wallow in your weakness. Don't wallow in the weakness of your arms and your knees. Strengthen it, because you understand that the reason why God is disciplining you is at the end, you will share in his holiness. Remember that without holiness, let's keep reading verse 14. It tells you, pursue peace with everyone as well as holiness, without which no one will see God. So at the end of the day, what does he want for you? He wants you to be able to see him. And so he's causing you to be he's disciplining you for that thing you did. A true son, you will not escape. You do something wrong, you will not escape. For the longest time, I used to tell myself that people will do things so they will escape. Once I do it like this, God will not allow. And it's true. I don't say never, but let me complain to you. I don't escape. Like, I will chop it. Like, I will eat the cane. It does not allow me to get away with anything. I remember during my youth service, I disliked camp. I know people say they love camp, good and fine, but camp was pain, was horror. Because you wake up by 4 a.m., like there's no breathing space. From one thing to another, camp is fun, it's enjoyable. I enjoyed some things, but man, it was stressful. So, and one day I just wanted to rest from all the social side, the lectures and all of that. And my roommates, they would skip. Normally, you're not supposed to skip. You're supposed to be out. Once you hear the sound of the bugle, whatever it's bugle, B-U-G-L-A, I think. B-E-A, beagle. Is it B-E-A? B-A, beagle. Once you hear the sound of that, you're supposed to go out and do whatever they are calling you to do. And my roommates, some will skip, they'll stay in the room, they will hide. The soldiers will pass, they will not catch them. That day I was tempted. I said, oh Lord, I'm so tired of this camp. I now told my roommate, I said, if I stay, they will catch all of us. Let me just go. And truly, that day, soldiers went from room to room. They collected the keys from all the room heads and were opening doors and were catching people. And they made people lie down in the sun. You know when soldiers want to punish now? I now thought, funny enough, they did not catch my roommates. I told them if I had stayed, they would have caught us. So God never allows me to escape with anything. If you're a child of God, that should be if you've been escaping, better cry out to God and say, Lord, please, I am not a spoon. Lord, I am your child. I'm not even, like, you should go on your knees and say, Lord, how can I lie yesterday? Nothing happened. How can I be carrying this malice in my heart? No. You must be disciplined, though. God must correct you and straighten your head. And so now, if you're someone that is constant, you're disciplined, you know that the Lord disciplines you when you go astray. Then you lie to yourself and say, what did I even do, Seth? You've forgotten that your arms were weak. You forgot that you did something, and so the Lord disciplined you. Then you now want to come and say, what did I even do, Seth? Why would the Lord do this? Why would this happen to me? That is when, we'll keep reading. That is when bitterness is going to come. You're supposed to strengthen those feeble arms that were weak in the first place and make straight paths for your feet. Why? Continue. No, sorry, that's the verse before. It says that so that the lame may not be disabled, but rather healed. Remember the person that spreads bitterness. So you come across somebody whose walk with God is not too straight. He's lame. Malachi, God said you bring lame animals as sacrifice. When you see that in scripture, likely speaking about someone who's walk with God, your legs represent your walk with God sometimes. So when somebody who already is having issues, a young sheep, and then they come across you, crooked paths, because you refuse to make straight paths for your feet, what is going to happen? They will be further disabled, right? And they will not be healed. But if you understood, oh, the Lord is my portion, this thing that is happening, well, let me look to the Lord. Let me seek the Lord for answers. Let me seek the Lord for help and redress. Okay, they said it's Burgos. I was correct. Bugle. My assistant. Eh? Beagles, spelled Bugle. Okay, but why need to tell me it's not when I spelled it wrong? Sorry, I'm complaining. I don't want to have bitterness in my heart. So let's address the quarrel. Okay, so and another way to also look at it is that remember that you also have weakness, right? You also have weakness, right? So when you make straight paths, you correct yourself, you walk on the path of your of truth, you yourself will be healed. But if you refuse to make straight paths, if you continue to walk on a crooked path, and maybe on your path you have roots of bitterness along the way that has sprung up, and there's stones, there's all sorts of things that someone cannot just walk on your path without tripping, without stumbling. So when the Lord disciplines you, when you find things happening, you make straight paths for your feet, so that those that encounter you, because your life choices are a path that people walk on. When people encounter you, some will walk on the same path that you create. Don't let somebody walk on your path and they are disabled. Rather, people should walk on your path and they find healing. You yourself, when you make straight path for yourself, you lame individual, you will also find healing eventually. That sadness, that sorrow, everything that happened will eventually be healed. So, talking about paths, I remember Pastor teaching about neural pathways and how you can create new paths for yourself. I don't know if that message has gone out. I hope it has. About being able to create new paths. You may have done, how do you create paths? By doing something very consistently. Thoroughfares, right? A thoroughfare is a place that is used constantly, that is constantly used. So you see maybe places where it's bushy, then you see one small path. Because people constantly walked on that place, that's how they were able to create that thoroughfare. You can create new paths. You can stop walking on that same old path. You can stop walking on that path of you're used to reacting a certain way to certain circumstances and things. You can change and react differently. You can choose to react in another way. But it will take work. Remember, you did not start walking on that path in a day, right? It took years. So you must consciously begin to make decisions that will help you walk on a new path of truth. You must constantly look for the truth in a situation rather than the first thing that comes to your mind is the lie. What's the first thought? How do you feel? Your emotions. How do I feel in this situation? No. Look for the truth. Is there some truth in this? Was I really at fault? Or am I this saint and everybody just out to attack me, to bring me down? Verse 15 now. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no root of bitterness springs up to cause trouble and defile many. So make sure that you don't have roots of bitterness on your path, because this is how somebody will walk through you and they will be disabled. They will walk through you and they will not be healed. Let's go on. For you know that... Okay, verse 15. Let's stop there. So did we see, let's read, did we finish reading 15? See that no one falls, yeah. So let's go back to verse 13, the one about holiness. Holiness, verse 14. So he says you should do what? Pursue peace. So this is how to overcome bitterness. We've talked about making straight paths. That's another way. Here again, you see that you're supposed to pursue peace with everyone, as well as holiness, without which no one will see the Lord. So when your heart is towards pursuing holiness, being set apart unto God, doing the right thing, when you seek to pursue peace with everyone, as opposed to being at war with people. Sometimes the people you're even fighting with, they don't even know you're fighting with them. They don't know you're quarreling with them. You're not there stewing in your own anger. When this is your heart cry, you will be able to overcome bitterness. And with your holiness, you'll be able to see God. I know that the more we see God, the more what happens? The more we are like him, the more we are changed to look like him. So let's look at James 3 verse 13 to 18.
Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show it by his good conduct, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not boast in it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every evil practice.
So do you see that bitter envy and selfish ambition comes from what? A wisdom. Let's go.